The Imperium of Man in Warhammer 40k is an authoritarian, dystopian mockery of a functioning state. It uses its own lobotomized citizens, servitors, as computers, guidance systems, for different heavy weaponry, and as robot assembly lines on which that heavy weaponry is produced. If some basic citizen was lucky enough to be deemed loyal by the state and unusable for becoming servant of Omnissiah, instead of working 24 hours a day as mindless cyborg, he would work 20 hours a day in the same place with those mindless cyborgs, in horrible and dangerous conditions of production hubs called manufactorums. Nearly everyone in Imperium starts to work from childhood. They pass basic education programs on how everyone in a galaxy wants to murder them in the most gruesome way possible, reading lists of countless martyrs, and becoming part of heavy labor when they turn 10 standard solar years, to produce laser rifles and pistols with which they will be executed the moment they will demand better working conditions or better living conditions. Only one thing is known: their life will be short and miserable, but even in a death their duty does not end. After expiring at age of 30-40 years old, from combined factors of imperial misery, instead of getting a proper burial or cremation ceremony, a citizen of Imperium will be dehydrated and grinded into fine powder, which will be enriched chemically with vitamins and fed to others who still can work. Pretty dark but efficient system of not wasting resources, considering the fact that the average human body contains approximately 81,000 calories. To escape such cycle of misery, many citizens decide to join imperial military forces, which can be ranged from planetary defense forces, imperial legions of Astra Militarum, or even space navy. Instead of living in the dirty slums, soldiers live in better conditions, get more diverse diet, which sometimes can even include canned meat, and have access to medical help, which does not turn them into servitor when they become heavily injured. It all sounds good, until realization that Imperium spends 10,000 years of its existence fighting in a never-ending war, and then behind each platoon there is ideologically zealous scumbag with a pistol who will make your head combust for saying that the corpse starch tastes bad. Even basic transportation in Imperium is an unpleasant experience. To reach other places of this enormous galactic empire, first you need to somehow calculate your destination. Unfortunately, all computers which are not based on lobotomized humans are banned, and ones which are available are not powerful enough. That's why, for route calculation, Imperium uses space wizards called psychers, which are basically mutated humans with psychic abilities to give spiritual energy from literal hell, called warp, a physical form. Because those guys are able to see and sense more than basic humans, they are able to calculate routes for spaceships based on location of imperial capital Terra. It emits bright beacon Astronomicon, which allows this planet to be seen and sensed. To maintain this beacon brightness, 1000 psychers are sacrificed daily in a process which is better not to be described. After our space wizard calculated the route for needed location, spaceship officers choose people from their crew who would load extremely radioactive and toxic fuel in the engine to start flight. This fuel is so dangerous that loading it will literally melt you alive. After fuel is loaded, engine starts by opening portal in warp, which, as I said before, literal cosmic hell. The job of our space navigation wizard does not end here. During flight in hell, he adjusts ship position with help of giant space beacon to open a portal to reality in needed place. While doing so, he needs to fight off hordes of demons who try to corrupt his mind. If he fails to do so, his brains will melt and another wizard will be put in his place. Overall, life in Imperium sucks, and it's not an object for debate. It is especially understandable after the description provided above. But does Imperium suck by itself? Answer is simple. No, it does not. Why, you ask me? Because Imperium is the only faction in Warhammer 40k which tries to save humanity from total annihilation. Any other factions like Necrons, Eldar, Orcs, or even Tau will offer humanity the same or worse conditions described above. Even without being in a state of constant war, humans will be displaced under the alien regime. While Imperium treats its citizens badly, it does that out of necessity with no intent of humanity's destruction, but its preservation. It needs to maintain monopoly on everything to concentrate resources in places where they are needed the most, or rapidly make important decisions in a critical situations. If humanity will be allowed more freedom in the currently worst stage of galactic war, Imperium will have harder time keeping mankind united for the sake of survival, and it will make flow of different resources more unstable, which together will cripple Imperium defense abilities, or even increase the amount of rebellions and will help chaos corruption from warp to spread. It's not just predictions of what will happen if humanity will be given freedom during times of galactic war, but basically mentioning of something that happened during such period when everything was less strict. During the Great Crusade, which was an imperial war for dominance in a galaxy 10,000 years ago, if counting from current date of 31st millennium, half of the empire was corrupted by chaos and rebelled, because of less dogmatic rule during that time, which allowed some not really good ideas to crawl into people's minds and follow Horus and his insurrection. This bloody rebellion was called Horus Heresy. In the end, the Loyalists won, but at the cost of destroying Imperium military capabilities. And in a small period after that, Orcs attacked and nearly destroyed already weakened by Horus Heresy Imperium. Same reasons became the cause for the Second Civil War, with only difference that this war was caused by political ambition and not corruption of chaos. It was time when Council on Nova Terra tried to submit the Imperium under its rule by separating itself from the Emperor's main government. This period was called the Time of Twin Empires, and it turned into 900 years old slaughter, which crumbled Imperium abilities for defense even more. Basically, extreme measures adopted by Imperium serve as safeguards from rebellions, which could ruin humanity's effort of finally conquering the stars and asserting its dominance. In the end, there's need to say what will happen with humanity if other factions will win the galactic war. If Tau Empire wins, they probably will sterilize all humans and put them to work in the mine shafts, or use them as cannon fodder, slowly erasing mankind from existence by slowly displacing them. In the case of Necrons, they will erase humanity by transferring their consciousness into human bodies in hopes of becoming truly alive again and recover from Cthulhu betrayal. If Eldar win, they will enslave humanity to do some mentally sick things to them for their own pleasure, or keep them as pets to play with. I believe that beings who created Slaanesh, regardless if they're Craftward or Dark Eldar, are both capable of enjoying such things. If we talk about Orcs' victory, then they will just eat every human and after turn on each other. Overall, humanity has chance for bright future only in a scenario where Imperium won, because if Imperium wins, it's probably slowly gonna abolish its cruel practices, because there will be no more need for them to exist with the disappearance of alien and heretical menace. Imperium of Man is an only good guy in 40k universe, who adopted valiant measures to survive fights with monsters. Imperium is the last hope of humanity's survival, and the last chance for humanity's bright future. If it dies, humanity dies with it. That's why anyone who says in Warhammer 40k everyone is a bad guy, completely brainless. It's always been a mystery to me how someone can support someone or something else instead of their own people. This cuckoldry for someone who wishes your own kind harm is the most twisted and weird thing I ever encountered. The scariest part is that Games Workshop shares this cuckoldry too, by announcing that Imperium is the worst factions out of all, totally disregarding the fact that Imperium is the only hope for humanity as a whole. They describe Imperium, quote, numberless legions of soldiers and zealots bludgeoning their way across the galaxy, delivering death to anyone and anything that doesn't adhere to their blinkered view of purity. Almost every man and woman toils in misery either on a battlefield, where survival is measured in hours, or in the countless manufactorums and hive slums that fuel the imperial war machine. All of this in slavish servitude to the living corpse of a god emperor whose commandments are at best only half remembered, twisted by time and the fallibility of humanity. This description is accurate, but they forgot to mention that Imperium turned this way by fighting against countless terrifying threats with the goal to save mankind from certain doom, which Xenos and heretics pose. And fueling the war machine is the only way how it can be done. They literally don't know their own lore, which was written with their support. This behavior from the Imperium's side is the only thing which allowed humanity to survive and continue to fight. It is cruel necessity dictated by cruel reality. I personally believe it's normal to have a favorite faction which is not human to play for, or it being your favorite because of lore, but I believe it is not normal to wish for extinction of your own species. This hatred towards humanity is surrounded not only by Games Workshop with their anti-Imperium statements, but in movies like Avatar 2. Instead of supporting humanity, who struggles to recover from ecological catastrophe and tries to find a new home in space, most people support blue monkeys which are enslaved by planet-sized mind control and parasite, and a traitor who betrayed his own civilization because he was too horny. It's time to stop drinking Soylent and start to actually analyze statements which we consume online. We need to remember how to use common sense and start applying it for any statements media trying to feed us with.